So apparently 2 New York residents were just arrested for running the secret Chinese police station. Significant national security matter. Now, we don't know exactly what to believe on this, but this would go more to confirm that these police stations are not just for helping citizens get their paperwork done, as they once said. It says that Justice Department announced arrest and charges in significant national security matter. The FBI, Justice Department, and federal prosecutors announced Monday that the arrests of 2 New York residents who allegedly ran an undisclosed Chinese government police station in Manhattan's Chinatown neighborhood. Zhu Zhenwang and Chen Jinping have each been charged with conspiring to act as agents of China's government, according to the U.S. It says that the Justice Department earlier described the announcement as a significant national security matter. Now, one thing I wonder is if this is going to domino effect. There are 31 or 32 countries with these police stations, and are other countries going to start busting these things? First of all, many of these police stations are located in Western NATO countries. In fact, I want to say 30 out of 31 are in NATO countries. There is a map that Able-Bodied, one of our Foogle fam, actually located at one point, and I will try to get that, and if we can, I believe we can put that on the website later on. But if you look at it, it correlates, and almost none of the places these are located are in any kind of allies' territory. It's all in their adversaries' territory. So very, very odd, to say the least. This just goes to show you that maybe something is being pushed as far as a battle with China. We'll talk about this and much, much more tonight on Marfoogle TV. We're going to cover a whole lot, so make sure to get over to the website, marfooglenews.com. We will be back right after this. Nothing in this show should be considered legal, medical, or financial advice. The views of the callers can differ considerably and do not necessarily reflect my opinion, Dex's opinion, or anyone else who works with the show. You should always do your own research and consult with professionals. The internet is full of fake news, so please take everything with a grain of salt. If you have not already, it helps us out if you end up going through any of our affiliates, and it helps you out if you end up protecting yourself against cybercrime. NordVPN is one of the best and one of the easiest to use. If you do not have a virtual private network, it protects your IP address, which is your online identity, which actually connects to your real address and everything else. It also connects to you. If you know anything about how they are data logging and basically getting your profiles down, you can prevent that by having a VPN. Nord is, again, one of the easiest. Download it. It's like an on switch and off switch. All you have to do. Go to marfooglenews.com/VPN. Not only will you get a giant discount on this, but you will also be helping us. I appreciate your support, and I appreciate everyone that goes through any of our affiliates. Can't say thank you enough.
Oh Lord, please save us, please. Oh Lord, please forgive me. Oh Lord.
All right, what is going on, guys? It is Adam, aka Marf, and this is Marfoogle News. Today we got a lot to go over, so remember you can always head over to marfooglenews.com, look for today's thumbnail, and then go to It Has All Been Telegraphed. You will find that we have every single article, tweet, video, picture, document that we're going to show you here today, plus a whole lot more. In fact, if you go to the very bottom, there is a bar with the overflow. That is all the stuff that could not fit into the show. There is actually quite important stuff down there. In the important case, it's mostly politics, things that would get you in a bar fight if you talked about, and all of the stuff that is extremely, extremely controversial. That would be down there. So make sure to go check that out. You can grab a second tablet or a device, or even throw it on your TV and do both at the same time. Let's bring in my co-host / internet brother, Dex James. What is going on, and how are you doing today?
Hello, Adam, and hello, Foogle fam. I'm doing just fine.
So going back to the 2 New York residents arrested, I mean, so, you know, if it's coming out of mainstream, it doesn't matter if it's Fox, MSNBC, CNN, whatever it may be, or if it's Reuters or AP or whatever it may be, nobody really believes anything at this point. This I personally believe. I think that this is something that, you know, when they caught these guys, this is something that everybody knew. I mean, nobody believed that they were helping citizens with paperwork, especially when, you've seen all of the other things that they've done to people that leave their country. And I've seen some pretty interesting theories from people that have actually lived there, and how they say that China actually treats mainlanders who leave mainland. It's almost like you are always controlled by mainland, especially if you have businesses that start there. You are essentially tied to the government at all times. Dex, this is kind of alarming. At the same time, it's not anything we're surprised by.
Well, it's not, but it really makes you wonder what they were doing there. The original stated purposes in some of the other countries were to help their citizens with paperwork. But of course, what's being reported is that they were going after citizens that were either connected to families that weren't doing the right thing, or they weren't doing the right things themselves outside of the country to represent Xi. So those quote unquote police would take care of things or bring them back or request them to go home. So I don't even know if either of those narratives are right. It could actually be something much more serious, especially if, it's a significant national security matter. That's pretty, that doesn't sound like just somebody's acting on behalf of a country. They must be doing something really wrong, whether it's organizing people or it is involved in espionage or something else. So there's something else to the story than what we've been told, or what people have thought they knew about these different police stations that were popping up around the globe.
And it says that they were charged with conspiring to act as agents of China's government. They could be, planning something massive. They could have found evidence of some sort of. They could just be. They could be spying. They could be looking at different things like that. But they also could have been planning something. They could have accessed things that all of these different police stations are doing. I guess, as we won't know exactly what happens until it's too late. Hopefully that is not the case. But usually they keep that all to themselves, and this will go, top secret, and we won't find out what's happening. But from all of the different actions that are being taken, and all of the pushes from different parties to get us into a world war, it's not something that many of us want to see. At the same time, it's like half of our government wants to turn a blind eye to all of this stuff. There were lawmakers that were saying, oh, well, if they want to, do a police station, their opinion was, well, we should just let them do what they need to do. It's not our business. It's like, why would you even say something like that? First of all, if they're opening up these police stations all over the world in mostly adversaries' countries, they're most likely up to no good. But that's just my opinion. What's yours? Let me know in the comments down below. Thank you, Foogle fam. Hey, what's going on? We got a lot of great people here. Mark, hey, and of course, Wages, if you're here already. Miss Marfy, or Miss Mary. Ilea. Nickelwise, thank you. Tinfoil Hat. Truth Iris is here. Donna Honey, nice to see you. Rose Powers. Randy Newman. Let's see here. Michelle K. Jean Hall. Kevin Doherty. Light of Vibes. Bug Nana. Wide Awake and Angry. Hey, what's going on? Karen from Columbus. DW David's Way. A lot of familiar names here. JR Pale Horse. Nice to see you. Let's see here. B-Dub. We've got Jimmy Touchdown. Island by the Sea. Island by the Sea, you have been here forever. Thank you so much for coming. You hold down the D-Live crew a lot. Thank you. Louis Trempoche and Brothers Grimm Show. What is happening? Aura, Squirrel, Ziggy Za. What is going on? It says math. You got to add a second F there. All right. Well, thank you guys for making it. I appreciate all of you, and appreciate everybody that can come to every night's show. And Stephen McMahon, thank you again. Thank you for your support yesterday in Swetnam Ministries. Danish Girl and Swetnam, thank you for your support this week. I appreciate you. All right, and then Elon Musk says that he's concerned that SpaceX Starship could melt the launch pad if it fireballed during takeoff. Now, the reason why this is the launch was slated for tomorrow, I believe, but now is getting pushed back to 420 as Elon Musk's 420 thing. He will literally move it so it's lined up with 420. But this was an actual concern to others. And then instead of saying, oh, no, that won't happen, he actually said, yeah, it could actually melt the launch pad. It says Starship is scheduled to blast off for the first time on Monday, but SpaceX CEO Elon Musk warned against people getting their hopes up for a successful launch. During a Twitter Spaces session on Sunday, Musk said that there was a high chance SpaceX would abort and postpone launch from its Starbase facility in Texas. His biggest concern was that a fireball incident could melt the launch pad if one of the engines failed. Musk said that such an incident would melt the steel and destroy the area where the rocket took off. He said that this would be a very, very bad day. Musk said that it would take SpaceX several months to rebuild the launch pad, and if Starship exploded and melted it. He previously hinted in an interview at Morgan Stanley conference in March that if his rocket made up of Ship 24 and Booster 7 were to explode, other Starships could be waiting in the wings. Any of the other problems that doesn't damage the launch pad post-launch is considered a win. I'd like to set the expectations low. If we get far enough away from the launch pad before something goes wrong, I think I would consider that a success. Just don't blow up the launch pad. Basically, it's kind of crazy saying this like this, and luckily it's a ton of his own money invested in this thing. It makes you question, it makes you wonder, what is the overall reason for this? Now, people have distanced themselves from why this is even happening. When it first was talked about, people, of course, questioned this nonstop. They're like, why did they care about getting to Mars so bad? Why do they care about getting to the moon and then to Mars? And why is this even happening? Why are they trying to colonize it? Obviously, there's one way to look at it. Well, why not, right? We're human beings. We need to do this to evolve or something. But do you think that that's why? No. Usually, if we're doing anything beneficial to humanity, it's because of money. And that's how these people look at it. As far as Elon is an end of the worlder. If you don't believe me, look at many of his comments. He's talked about the end of the world many times. He's talked about that we are going to go into a serious birth decline and even a population crisis, and telling people to have 6 kids because that's humanity's only hope. And everybody's like, well, wait, we're overpopulated. Why would we need to have 6 kids? What are you talking about? We have too many people. Well, that might change. It's kind of weird that, since 1950, sperm counts have dropped in men in just, 50, 60, 70 years by 50%. I don't even think that. I think it's 50 years. So since like the 70s, 60s or something, it's dropped by 50%. Why are human males having their sperm counts lowered? It's a question that people just kind of ask and go, oh, maybe it's just whatever. But it's a serious thing. What if women are getting slowly sterilized and men's sperm counts are going, then we will quickly have a birth crisis. We'll have a lot more people in adult diapers than baby diapers, like many countries already are in the world, and it's bad. But that's not what's going to get us. Something out there very well could end the world. And people look at this as like a crazy subject. You can't talk about the end of the world, otherwise you're the crazy guy with the cardboard sign. But the end of the world is not that unbelievable at this point. In fact, if you looked at it statistically, if you looked at all the different events that are going on right now, it looks like biblical end times. And whether you believe that or not, even if you are a reasonable and logical person, and if you're, say, following CNN or MSNBC or all of those, they are telling you that there's a matter of years left before life as we know it is going to change drastically. They're saying that we're going to be underwater. They're saying that we won't have food and water, and we're going to need desalination plants in just the next couple decades, that we're running out of fresh water and all of these other things going on, that we're going to run out of resources, we're going to run out of oil, this and that, and we're switching over to a bunch of different alternatives, right? So even if you are with the mainstream, you're totally logical, you're totally reasonable person, it's closing in on the end, or at least the end of life as we know it. It will be a different life. The point of this, going back to it, is they are launching these enormous starships, and I think it's really hard to wrap our heads around this. They are talking about sending people to Mars in 10 years. Now, there's a lot of doubters. There's a lot of people that say, oh, it doesn't even exist. When it goes over the horizon, it just goes down and it lands somewhere else and lands in the ocean and it can't go outside and it can't do this, can't do that. That's fine. In 10 years, when regular people are supposedly going to be able to do this, either something massively changes, a war of all war, so we don't get to this point, that companies like his don't even exist in the future, that, nobody gets off the ground, or in the near future, this will be settled because normal people will be able to fly to Mars. But why would they be flying to Mars? Do they know something that we don't? And my mind keeps going back to it. My honest opinion is that they know something is going to happen. And I know people disagree with me, and I know people think that's crazy, but I do believe that they know something is coming, whether it be from our Earth or from outside of our Earth or from under our Earth. Something is there. And if you look statistically, like I said, look at all of the different world-ending events that are somehow looking like they're all possible right now. From Yellowstone, from Cascadia actually triggering a massive event. They've talked about a massive event being triggered worldwide by the next Cascadia because of how it lines up with all of the other things. From an asteroid hitting Earth, from birth decline, from a nuclear conflict, from grid down EMP, a solar event that knocks down all electricity and all of our infrastructure with water. So there's a lot of really crazy things going on. And it goes back to the main point. Why is he doing this? Why did he spend his own money in the beginning to a loss to create the whole SpaceX thing? And why are they, making these governments in the sky? Why did they start SpaceX? Why are they doing DART? Why are they doing Hammer and Hayabusa and Osiris Apex and Osiris Rex? Why are they doing lasers that can shoot things out of the sky? Why are they doing Starlink? For internet? Well, did you know that Starlink is also a detector for hypersonic speed objects as well? And it's going to be a grid around our planet? I think it's a defensive thing. But that's just me. What do you guys think? It's kind of crazy to think of if this does go off, or in the next couple days when this launch happens, it might at least be something fun to watch if you're not a fan. Nobody wants to miss a huge explosion. And that's possibly what may happen. And then Elon Musk agrees AI will hit people like an asteroid, says he used Obama meeting to urge regulation. So if you haven't seen, there's actually, I don't know if this is going off of the main gentleman. There's a video going around on Twitter right now. I shared it. If you want to go over and see the video I think that this is based off of, you can go over and talk about it. A gentleman talks about how that we have an asteroid coming. It's like a Don't Look Up movie. He, in fact, mentions Don't Look Up. He says, that movie Don't Look Up? This is like the asteroid, only we are building the asteroid ourselves. It says, the Twitter and Tesla CEO made the comments in response to a tweet from AI software developer McKay Wrigley, who wrote on Saturday, "It blows my mind that people can apply exponential growth to the capabilities of AI. You would have been called a lunatic a year ago if you said we would have ChatGPT 4 level AI right now. Now think another year, 5 years, 10 years. It's going to hit them like an asteroid." Musk responded, says, "I saw it happening from well before GPT-1, which is why I tried to warn the public for years." And mind you, this is back when GPT-1 was, before all the public had access to this stuff. He was saying things that he was, speaking in public, saying that AI was scarier than nuclear weapons. It says, "The only one-on-one meeting I ever had with Obama as president, I used not to promote Tesla or SpaceX, but to encourage AI regulation. Obama had dinner with Musk in February of 2015 in San Francisco. This week, Musk responded to news about Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer laying the groundwork for Congress to regulate artificial intelligence. It says, "Good news, AI regulation will be far more important than it may seem today," Musk tweeted. According to the Financial Times, Musk is developing plans to launch an AI startup dubbed xAI to compete against the Microsoft-backed OpenAI, which makes generative AI tools, including AI chatbots, ChatGPT, GPT-4, and the image generator DALL-E 2. Musk is reportedly working on an AI project at Twitter. A few weeks ago, Musk called for a 6-month pause on developing AI tools more advanced than GPT-4, the successor to ChatGPT. He was then joined in signing an open letter by hundreds of technology experts, among them Apple co-founder Steve Wozniak. The letter warned of mass-scale misinformation and the mass automation of jobs. The power of AI systems to automate some white-collar jobs is in little doubt. The Wharton professor recently ran an experiment to see what AI tools could accomplish on a business project in 30 minutes and called the results superhuman. Meanwhile, some remote workers are apparently taking advantage of productivity, enhancing AI tools to hold multiple full-time jobs, with their employers none the wiser. But fears that in the long run, AI will replace many jobs are mounting. Musk co-founded OpenAI in 2015 as a nonprofit, but he parted ways with it after a power struggle with CEO Sam Altman over its control and direction, according to the Wall Street Journal. He tweeted on February 17th that OpenAI was created as an open source nonprofit to serve as a counterweight to Google, but now it has become a closed source maximum profit company effectively controlled by Microsoft. Not what I intended at all. Altman himself has warned frequently about the dangers of artificial intelligence. Last month in an ABC interview, he said that the other AI developers working on ChatGPT-like tools won't apply the kind of safety limits his firm and the clock is ticking. Musk has long believed that oversight for artificial intelligence is necessary, having described the technology as potentially more dangerous than nukes. Personally, I don't think it's potentially. I think it is more dangerous than nukes. It says we need some kind of like regulatory authority or something overseeing AI development. It says make sure it's operating in the public interest. Well, nothing operates in the public interest anymore. We are being pushed by forces we cannot name. We are being told what to do by literal shadows that are, pushing society, and these agencies created by these shadows like CEI, SCORE, and all of these other things that are trying to change culture rapidly, when really the only goal is to divide us and to essentially make America, the United States, crumple in on itself. That's what I think. What do you guys think? Let me know in the comments down below. The Singularity, says Connor B.E. Grifton. K. Parker Fraser. Hey, Adam. Dex Mods and the Foogle family. Hey, what's going on? Chance Paladin. Saul DePaul. Conquer. What is happening? Patrick Bellamar. Thank you. That should work well. Distinguished Shiffy. Yeah, exactly. Hopefully they do find out something. Dex, as far as regulating this stuff, I mean, right now it's not looking. It's not looking like it's going to happen too fast.
Well, in his interview tonight with Tucker, or I guess they did it over the weekend, but they played it part of it tonight. He talked a lot about regulation, and a couple of the points he made was like, look, we have regulation for the FAA, like things that can harm the public. You've got to regulate the airspace so that people don't just willy-nilly fly planes anywhere they want, or build them however they want. There's all sorts of regulations around that. There's regulations around, food and making sure that plants, don't process food in ways that give us bacteria and harm people. So, there's the whole world is made up, there's a lot of things that affect the public that are bound by regulation. And it's not necessarily a bad thing. It can be a good thing. And those are some examples of good ones. And that's what he was sort of getting at, is we have to do it. But the other point he made is like a lot of those regulations that we put in place because of a problem. Like, because we were poisoned by food, then we said, well, maybe we should figure out how to, process food cleanly, and let's create a regulation. Well, the point with AI is if we get to the point where we need the regulation, we may have gone too far and there's no coming back from it. So I think that's the big problem. The big hurdle here is to convince people to regulate something that is not created an absolute problem yet in the sense of danger or harm to the public.
Yeah, they as far as there's these problem reaction solution. Is that how it goes? Problem reaction solution. Is that how they? That's kind of how they push in all these. I see what you're saying, that we have to find by trial and error the mistakes before we can fix them. But usually,
correct,
they're creating the problem then they're creating the reaction, and then they're giving you the solution. And people are like, oh, yeah, sure, we want that. Yeah, we totally want that. Unfortunately, it's usually screws us over. I guess everybody knows by now, nobody cares about us. And by us, I mean 99% of us. I think they would much prefer that we don't reproduce and that we don't end up creating another generation of regular people. I think that the people at the very top would be happy living on Earth with the rest of their 1% friends. I think they would be happy with a population like really tiny. Really, really tiny. Maybe keep a few of us around to, wash their feet or something. Elon Musk says that he's planning to create a maximum truth-seeking AI that he likes to call Truth GPT. The thing is Elon trolls so much you don't know what's actually serious, but then he trolls and he will literally do something like this for real to troll. I mean, he will literally make a Truth GPT. At the same time, people have their doubts. And Elon, if you happen to be watching any of these, because you are an end of the worlder, a lot of people have questions. If you are turning all of this X stuff into something that's even scarier than what you say you are against. And it's very easy to see Elon as a hero, but if you are into the truth and not taking sides, then you would ask questions about if he is truly the hero or if he's like the anti-hero that, or the person to draw the rest of the crowd in and get support and then slowly, put something even worse in. I just wonder what is, Neuralink, and you see all of this stuff. If you say, oh, well, AI is evil, well, you go back to it. He did help found it. He helped found the same company that's making this evil stuff now. It's hard not to root for somebody who is that high up and appears to be standing up against the system. But as we all question, is he really standing up for the system or is he part of it? And it's to give us the illusion that he is standing up for the system. I mean, it's hard not to say that this guy's like not the Superman. He's the richest person on the planet, which of course people are going to envy. And then of course he appears to not care what people think about him. He's telling the truth in a lot of these public places. He's saying the objective truth, which goes against what the narrative is. So it's hard not to say, I root for this. He's done a lot of things that it's really hard to say, oh, I don't like that. I mean, he does stuff that it's like, how can you not cheer for it? The BBC interview the other week, like, we see the BBC do that kind of stuff and that kind of reporting where they blindside and they attack things from this narrative that's not even objective truth, and they attack everything like that. And it's not just him, it's everybody. To see him actually go back, it's hard to say what would be the beneficial thing for that if that was planned, right? He basically called out BBC, called out all these things, and millions of people finally are starting to see it. I mean, you see people waking up on it daily, but are they waking up to a something newer and worse? But again, it says Musk announced his plans for the forthcoming interview, Fox News Channel, Tucker Carlson. It says, I'm going to start something which I call Truth GPT, or a maximum truth-seeking AI that tries to understand the nature of the universe. And I think this might be the best path to safety in the sense that AI that cares about understanding the universe, it is unlikely to annihilate humans because we are an interesting part of the universe. That's actually pretty interesting in itself. That's the thing. We always see that AI would see us like an ant. If an ant wanted to, or if we want to build a freeway, we don't stop and move an ant farm. We pave over it. We just go right through it. And we would be ants in the kind of grand scheme of things. If AI superseded us, it would be scary. It would be like, well, these people are doing harm. If you look at overall, even if you don't believe that we are destroying the planet, you would definitely say that most humans are pretty crappy. And as a perfect being, or what these AIs would consider themselves, they don't do harm. They can compute, 50,000 times what we can. And, they make sure to look 40,000 steps ahead before they do something negative. They would look at us and go, these things are trash. We need to take out the trash. But if you put that yes, there's pests, right? There's pests out there. But us humans look at them like, well, they're part of the ecosystems. Mosquitoes are part of the ecosystem. Bees are part of the ecosystem. You might hate bees, but of course the bees literally keep us alive. You might not like sharks, but sharks keep certain animals at bay, or certain predators in the woods. Something that eats the mosquitoes, right? So it's kind of a interesting way to look at it. And I wonder what this thing is going to be. And I bet you, because it's Elon Musk, it will actually come out. I just wonder how different it will be, and if it's secretly just going to be a competitor to this other thing. Go ahead, Dex.
Yeah, he did say in the interview that he was really far behind. So he was hopeful that he could get it built, but obviously he's many years behind everyone else. So starting from scratch is a big hurdle. But the ultimately, when it comes down to it, I mean, if sure they can program a truth GPT, if they want to call it that, to have a fundamental core principle of appreciating the universe, or trying to seek the understand the nature of the universe and all things in it. But the real question comes down to is, does AI ever get to the point where it jumps the track on its own, irregardless of what it's programmed to do? And I think that's where everybody worries. And some other commercial version of AI that's built for Microsoft or whoever may have its own principles, and it may be rooted differently, but it's still, more than likely it wasn't ever necessarily designed to take out humanity. But if it jumps its own tracks is the real question. And if it jumps those tracks and decides to do things on its own, against the programming it's been given, that's what the biggest worry is. And that could happen to any version of AI. At least that's the concern. Like, we've never seen it happen, but when it does happen, that's the critical point.
What I found was crazy is there's already 100 million monthly users of the Chat GPT, the chatbot. I don't think that's not the Chat GPT 4, right? GPT 4 is still beta, or is that?
No, there's one service called ChatGPT Pro. It's $20 a month. If you buy that, you have access to GPT 3.5 and 4.0. And then they have another service for the images called Dolly, and I believe that one's based on credits. So you buy so many credits and you use those credits against making images.
Okay, but what about the chatbot that amassed 100 million monthly active users? Is that all of them?
I don't know if it's their chatbot or if that's other people building on the Chat GPT API. There's plenty of apps out there now that are all plugging into this stuff, but it's their own app built on top of the API.
Yeah. Okay. So let's say Chat GPT's recent massive popularity, the chatbot amassed 100 million. So that includes the developers. That includes everybody. But that's a lot. That's
everybody. That if it's Chat GPT, then it is everybody. And if it's the paid, it's the only people paying $20 a month. And then I think they have licenses for their APIs for commercial businesses that want to build apps on top of their APIs. Like if you wanted to make an app for how to respond to text messages or something on a phone app, you could do that and use their API to build the responses.
Oh, that is so terrifying that not only is this base thing here, is people can have an idea and then improve on it and then turn it into something else, power something else, like a simple human being. I mean, think about it. They can basically make, this is not, I don't think it's surpassed humans as, they say that it's surpassed like what we can hold in our brain, but either way, it's they can.
Yeah, we haven't reached singularity yet.
Yeah, singularity. That's correct. That's right. And somebody said that in chat too. So, but you have a simple, or maybe a young adult that could basically respond to this stuff, and you could have that do things for you, and then you could set up another one to do something different. And I mean, just think about how, like they said, exponentially this could go absolutely nuts, even without moving forward. I think. But that's pretty crazy. Think about if 100 million monthly active users were paying $20 a month. All of a sudden, that would... Here's the thing I worry about is any company like this that ends up getting so rich, then all of a sudden they start controlling the world. Almost every rich entity starts grabbing power. And if the wrong person gets rich, then you all of a sudden have somebody that has a lot of power out of nowhere. Look at Mr. Gates. His only qualification is that he's rich. I'm sorry, the guy's a dropout. He did a very good job in business, but he's not who we should be checking with about what we put in our bodies. I mean, think about it. It's crazy that so many people respect. What? Because he went to a different country 50,000 times and did photo ops? Like, it still doesn't matter. Because he reads 5 novels a week, that's still not the requirement for running the planet. Sorry. For telling agencies what to do, that's not enough. Sorry. And then Biden's green energy plans pose national security risk, Pentagon warns. Dex, do you want to go over why? And it kind of hit me blind. This one blindsided me. Do you want to explain why it would be a national security risk?
Yeah, most certainly. So this is coming directly from the Pentagon. So the Pentagon goes head to head with the administration over these, wind, specifically the windmills that are being placed in the coastlines in the water. And what they're saying is it's causing, it can potentially create a navigational issue for them, and they don't want to deal with it. And not just deal with it, but it's, comes down to a security threat and how they maneuver and through the waterways and through in some of these areas. So they produced a map and showed all these areas that I guess as part of this discussion that they had with them that showed the areas marked in red that they didn't think they were sensitive military zones. And they didn't want any of this stuff in that area because it causes problems. And I'm assuming that these are probably areas that they tend to track and probably have a lot of subs going through, and they don't need obstacles. I mean, just imagine all of a sudden, we've been running subs up and down our coast looking for other subs. We've been running sub hunters. We've got ships moving around, and then all of a sudden now we have to, weave in and out of traffic cones, so to speak, of these, giant wind farms that are, anchored out in the waterways there. So it's kind of an interesting spin. I never thought this would be an issue, but that they're pushing back and telling them, hey, you can't do this.
Yeah, it's definitely not what I expected, even when I first saw the headline. Aberration says, yeah, and he even ripped off the ideas to get rich. You're right, Mr. Gates. He essentially took somebody else's stuff, and somebody who was close to him, and said, well, I'll take that. Let's see.
Steve Jobs.
Yep, Steve Jobs, and
who took it from Xerox.
Yep. Well, they all take it. They're cutthroat. I mean, to get to that level of rich, that's why nobody trusts people that are rich. It's funny nowadays. The more money you have, the less people trust you, because it is the root of all evil. And then the more that you get, the more. It's almost like it's like it has a spell over people or something. You just know that for you to get that successful, to get in the $1 billion clubs, it's just something different. I thought it was actually pretty interesting when I found out that J.K. Rowling, she would donate money so she would never hit $1 billion. She did not want to be in a billionaire clubs or the billionaire. Maybe I think they listed or something somewhere. But she would literally donate whatever amount of money it would take every year to not hit $1 billion. Because, I mean, think about Harry Potter. That's massive. She would donate the money to not be a billionaire. I thought that was pretty interesting, to say the least. Let's see here. Kari W. Oh, and then somebody said something about BlackRock, right? Speaking of, the whole thing with Anheuser and Bud, it's pretty crazy to see why they may have done all of that, right? I believe did we add that to the web only the other night, the CEI thing? The score of the wokeness score?
Oh, I'll find it, and I'll put it on tonight's too, just in case.
Okay. But essentially, all these companies are trying to get their, CEI stuff up. And that CEI, that whole thing, top shareholders of all of these companies doing it, boom, up at the top, BlackRock. I mean, they're just tied in with everything. Everything over the last few years. Everything. They were top shareholders. They owned the most percentage of all three of the. So it was so funny. People were deciding like, well, I don't want to get that one because that one's bad and that one's unhealthy. But then they would get the other one, which was basically at the very top of it was the same people. All of the companies that were doing all of them had the same top shareholders. And shareholders, this is a money thing. It's like, And then, it's just nuts. And then before we talk about U.S. Biggest elephant walk, if you don't know what an elephant walk is, stay tuned. We'll tell you in just a second. I do want to remind you, if you haven't already, make sure to go over to marfooglenews.com/prep. This is a really easy and affordable way to get a ton of freeze-dried, 25-year shelf life food that will be good all the way up until 2052. That's, again, freeze-dried food sealed in Mylar bags. Freeze-dried sucks all of the water and moisture out of the food, then seals it to where it can last for almost ever. We're talking about 25 years, over 2 decades, and you can open it up, cook it in water or add water, and it's essentially what it was on the day it was packed, which is absolutely phenomenal. This is one of the most affordable ways. My Patriot Supply does one of the most affordable bulk buys out there, especially when you use our code. When you do this at marfooglenews.com/prep, not only do you help us with a small commission, you are getting $200 off on the 3-month supply. Freeze-dried food has tripled in the last 3 years. The prices have just skyrocketed. And if they keep going the same way with things in the economy and with the world as they are, it's most likely they will. If inflation hits all-time high in 3 more years and it quadruples or sextuples, then you will still have 22 years left on the shelf life, and you will not have to worry about buying any of this. This is good for not just a SHTF situation, but it is good for, of course, fires, for floods, for hurricanes, for power outages, for any kind of earthquake, natural disasters. Most places on this planet, it doesn't matter where you are, there is some sort of disaster that could happen. And if you prepare yourself, then you will be a whole lot better off. Again, I posted something on Twitter earlier, but essentially what the gentleman said is, it's not, you can't control things that are going to happen, but you can control how you respond to those things. And this is a really good way to do that. Go to marfooglenews.com/prep. It helps independent news. And of course, it's going to help you in the long run, and you'll have something as a backup. They have smaller packages all the way down to single packages. And of course, you can get a 72-hour kit for a go bag. All sorts of great stuff over there. So make sure to go check it out. marfooglenews.com/prep and get that huge discount. All right. And then U.S. holds the world's biggest elephant walk with 4,000 airmen. I want to say thank you, Fairies of Venus. Again, thank you for your support on tonight's show. I appreciate you, Fairies of Venus. Thank you for the $99 super chat. As you know, I've told you before, you don't have to do that, but it is so appreciated. And thank you again. It's rare to have something like that, so thank you so much. We appreciate you, Fairies of Venus. Thank you for your support, and thank you for supporting Independent. Kay Parker Fraser, hey, Adam, Dex Mods, and Foogle family. Hey, Kay, nice to see you here tonight again. And Stephen McMahon, Danish Girl, Jared West, and Andrew Golden. Says Trish LOL. Trish, wherever you are. Andrew Golden, thank you. I appreciate that. All right, and then let's see here. The Elephant Walk. There was 4,000 airmen and 80 warplanes. They say that this was the biggest. Now, was there caveats to that? I don't think there was. It said that this was the world's biggest elephant walk in a spectacular show of strength to Vladimir Putin and Xi Jinping. More than 4,000 airmen shared the runway with 80 aircrafts in a single file nose-to-tail takeoff positions, which is said to resemble elephants walking. So I'll show you what we're talking about. This is the airmen. So I believe that these are all pilots, which one of the reasons why China does not have its third aircraft carrier actually active and in service is because they are short pilots. So we do have a massive force. One thing I question about this, which I forgot to say on my video earlier, is when you do this, wouldn't you consider this kind of dangerous? If you really think about it, you have all of our gear, all of our pilots, all in one place. Just say if somebody wanted to do us harm, if they knew about an event like this, they could take out our entire, Air Force in one day. I think, does the benefit of this compared to the risk outweigh it? Do you guys know what I mean? Like, look at this is the difference between us and China. We have the pilots to actually pilot our stuff. We have 11 plus aircraft carriers, and we have all of the pilots to go with it. I just think it's kind of crazy. And this was supposed to be a message. But who's the message to? Is it to Vlad, Xi, or is it to us? Dex, go ahead.
Well, part of the message, and maybe I'm wrong at this, and that's perfectly okay, but it's my assumption that this is one Air Force base. So if this is the power at that, it's not like they took all of our planes from all of our bases and put them in one location. I know that's not what you're saying. But at the same time, we have these bases everywhere. So, if this show of strength is big at one place in Texas, it multiply that across the globe to some extent, and I guess that's pretty powerful. I mean, there's plenty of countries out there that don't even have this many aircraft in their Air Force that's on this one runway for their entire country, let alone this is just one air base.
Yeah, no, I do get what you're saying. But still, if you took that out, I think that for their aircraft carrier, they only needed something like 380 pilots. We have 4,000 standing right here. I'm sure if you took this place out with all of these, it would take a huge chunk. Because if you actually look at the numbers we have, how many planes was this? This was 4,000 80 aircrafts, right? How many aircraft do we have in total? I mean, it would be a 5% kind of thing. It would be let's see, got a DuckDuckGo. How many? Well, I would say attack craft, right? Does U.S. have active aircraft? If you look at the numbers, yeah, we have a lot. But I mean, if you look at this, so let's take the A-10 Thunderbolt 286 total, right, in service. But some of these, like the A-130, those are the huge, massive ones, 21. B-1 Lancer, Spirit. Let's take one of, like the F-15 Strike Eagle, 218. If you took 80 out of any of these, it would cut like a third of our fighting force. Now, the F-16 Fighting Falcon, those do not look like what was on that runway. In fact, I wonder which one was on that runway. Some of them look like old propeller ones, or not old, but propeller planes, right? That one. Can anybody tell me in chat what those were? Oh, what a weird looking plane that one is. Look at that. Light attack reconnaissance. 75 on order. Oh, look at this. This is super interesting. Okay, so look at this. We have a total of 310 F-35 Lightning IIs. We have 1,369 on order. So they are basically going all advanced, stealth multi-role. F-22 Raptor, 177, none on order. Huh. Yeah, but the planes on that one, I don't even know what those are. Huh. Okay, so maybe they Super Tucano. Do you think that those are what these are? If you look at the ones right here, they almost look like older jets. These over here, those look like the all of these ones on the right. So if that's 80, that almost looks like 40 of the something like a Tucano. I know all of you Air Force guys are like, oh, that's a C-321. I'd eat breakfast with those. Dex, go ahead.
There's a couple of different stats I was just looking up, and the one thing they talk about here is these are conflict planes or planes, if you want to. That's the term they use. So they're, leaving out the trainers, leaving out the other. These are the strength planes. So the stats we have something like 5,200 in the entire Air Force, but some reports are saying about 1,914 of those would be considered strength or warplanes, if you use that term. So anywhere in the neighborhood of 4% on the runway there, or less than 1% of our entire fleet on the runway.
Which I believe the 5,200 would be what would be in use. If you look at what they're doing right now, they are preparing for a massive conflict. And you can tell because they are now making systems that would actually be launchable from our cargo planes even. They're making missiles that can be dropped out of a cargo plane and then take off. That tells me that they want extra ways to deliver the blasts and to have a backup, because we have so many of the cargo planes. Like if something happened to all of our stuff, and they're practicing landing jets and planes on highways, like that kind of tells you that they're preparing for a contingency of, say, our airways and all of our stuff being destroyed in some sort of surprise. Not saying it will happen, but they're preparing for it. And then Dex, do you want to go over the South Korea fire's warning shots?
So apparently a patrol boat from NK was taking chase to a fishing boat from China, and decided to cross over the line they're not supposed to cross. And in doing so, it caused a confrontation with SK, who then fired a warning shot, in which case that NK boat backed off. But in the darkness, the other interesting thing that happened is, I guess there was limited visibility. I don't know if it was fog or rain or cloud or whatever, but SK actually ran in to the Chinese fishing boat. So they actually had a collision with it. And had some, minor bruises and stuff with their crew on the SK, the sailors on the SK patrol boat. Now, keep in mind, patrol boats, these are usually those smaller, boats that are running up and down the coasts and things like that, or up and down rivers. These aren't massively big, large ships. These are much smaller PT ships. They move pretty fast, but they don't go very far. So they stick around. But that's the incident, and this is the type of thing that we talk about. Now, it doesn't appear that what NK was doing was trying to provoke something into SK, because it appears that they were chasing off another boat in their waters, and trying to, get rid of it or pursue it and find out who it was and what they were. And then in doing so, crossed the line that they're not allowed to cross. So kind of one of those things that we talk about, how it's real easy for these, the issue between NK and SK, because they are sort of at hold with their conflict. They've never really ended the war, so to speak. They have a DMZ. They have these demarcation lines that they don't cross. But, these skirmishes can pop off at any time. And it's not unfathomable to think that any one of those could escalate to something bigger. It could even escalate to something really big, but even something as small as this could have turned into something much worse.
And something worse is not something we would like to see. Let's see here. D-Live, thank you, guys. Thank you. Skyhouse, I see you. Vicky K, I see you. Thank you so much. Appreciate it, everybody over there. Thank you, mods, for holding it down over there. Chance and Jammer. Beer Juice, WizTech, and Yobi. Hello, all. Hope y'all are doing great. Well, hey, thank you. And Island by the Sea, thank you over on D-Live. Like I said, you've been here for a long time. Thank you, thank you, thank you. and then why China is banning rare earth metal exports. In a high-tech and high-stakes game of you can't have what I have, China is quickly moving towards a ban on certain rare earth metal exports. The policy change could create disruption in non-Chinese economies unable to source enough rare earth metals needed for high-tech products and high-performance magnets. In a report from Nikkei out of Beijing, China's move will likely come soon in 2023. So this is like, now, as the amendment to the country's technology export restriction list has already passed several hurdles. It says this update to the list of banned export materials is likely to cause significant issues for both the United States and Japan. This all comes as a response to the U.S. and others limiting their own exportation of high-tech microchips, leaving China on the outside looking in. The Asian News Network says that Xi Jinping, China's president, has focused on magnets as an economic growth point and a national security benefit. These rare earth metals are key to the production of a variety of high-tech products and rare earth magnets found in electronic motors, including electric vehicles, robots, airplanes, military and otherwise, and commonly used goods like mobile phones. It says, and then it goes into, it says, China has an 84% share of the global market of neodymium magnets and over 90% interest in samarium cobalt magnets. Japan holds most of the remaining share. If China does cease all exportation of these materials, much of Europe and the U.S. will become wildly and wholly dependent on China to produce components and likely products from the materials, taking away key production strongholds for other countries. Now, when you think about this, that is huge. If you cannot make, if you are literally completely dependent on one component of almost everything, that's a lot of control. And what's crazy is the rest of the percent is taken up by Japan. And Japan actually is the number 2 to China's number 1 in a bunch of other things. So it kind of makes sense why Japan is worried about China taking Taiwan and then Japan. Because if you control the electronics, you will control the future. Dex, do you want to give your opinion on this as well?
Well, those magnets, aside from electronics, which there's a lot that happens inside of electronics that most of us don't understand or even know, we just want to use them. But for those of you that have ever used those really strong magnets, they're really tiny, but they have a ton of strength. Those are those neo magnets. And they're very, very useful compared to just a traditional magnet. The other interesting thing in 2010, though, over the dispute of the Senkaku Islands, that's when the rare earth materials were not exported to Japan from China. So they held that back, and it forced Japan to actually have to figure out its own production. And so they've actually had to solve their problem, but they've been doing it for almost 13 years now. This is a big deal. This one's been talked about a lot for many years. Everybody's always said, look, the rare earth materials that they control and have. Now, mind you, they don't just it's not like it's only in their land. They've just invested the mining to do it, and they have the lion's share of the mining. Those minerals are available in other places. They're just not being mined. I mean, I think we talked in the show about one company up in Alaska, I don't know, it was Pebble or something like that, that had made a claim that they could, and their mine had the ability to supply all of the US's needs for rare earth material, or whichever one that they had access to, but they couldn't get past our ecological and EPA type permits and approvals to actually get the mine functioning. So that's sort of stuck in this limbo land. So there's, it's one of those problems that we'll have to actually probably face, and then we'll have to resolve it by then saying, okay, well, we'll make chips here, and now we'll have to mine them here and mine these rare earth materials. So they are available. It's just that the majority of the mining is actually done there, set up, processed, and ready. So this is this is actually one of the elements of conflict, and this is the next one that would be pretty scary is they come out and start saying something about pharmaceuticals that are made over there, and like they're going to ration or limit or determine or even tariff at a much higher rate any of those products that are made over there. But the flip side, I think what they're doing right now is just saying, hey, we're not going to export the raw material, which just means you have to manufacture what you need here, because we'll give you the material as long as it comes out in a finished good that we manufacture. So that sort of puts the twist in the arm of everyone to actually go back to manufacturing in Xi's country.
So this is another one, battery arms race, how China has monopolized the electric vehicle industry. Part of the reason lithium is also something that's heavily being moved around and heavily in demand right now. It says that Chinese companies dominate mining, battery, and manufacturing sectors, and amid human rights concerns, Europe and the U.S. are struggling to keep pace. It says, think of an electric car, and the first name that comes to mind will probably be Tesla. The California company makes the world's best-selling electric car and recently valued $1 trillion, which is crazy. But behind this U.S. success stories is a tale of China's manufacturing might. Now, one of the downsides, like I was talking about with Elon Musk, one of the bad parts is that his second biggest customer is China. And that may mean that he is beholden to China, right? But if you look at what he's manufacturing, it's kind of obvious why, right? Tesla's factory in Shanghai now produces more cars than its plant in California. Some of the batteries that drive them are Chinese made, and the minerals that power the batteries are largely refined and mined by Chinese companies. Now, it's not just this. You look at everything around us, and there is so much right now that is actually either manufactured or mined or controlled, or some sort of proprietary thing is controlling it from China. And this was all done for the better bottom dollar for these corporations that are controlling us. If you look at the cranes situation, where they just recently said, oh crap, 80% of our cranes that control everything flowing into the United States. And these cranes, without them, we cannot get the things off of the boats. There's no way to lift these containers off. Are controlled by a proprietary system that may be sending information and could possibly be controlled from across the ocean. That's crazy to me. We keep opening ourselves up. It's like we're just pulling them down and going, yep, take it. I just don't understand it. There's so much. And then our president just recently said, well, in the near future, get ready, because everything's going to be made in America again. That's a scary statement. That's war. Think about it. Dex, go ahead.
Well, and lithium's another example of that. It's not that we don't have it. That stuff's everywhere. You can mine it. Just about every country in the world has enough. You can mine it all in one country and have enough for the whole world. The problem is the refining process, and it's those plants that they have to build to go through the prep and the process of that. And those are the things that we just don't do here. It's like we're so hung up on, the toxicity of how that works, and we're happy to say, yeah, let some other country like China do it. And of course they're like, yeah, we're going to do it because we're going to make a ton of money. And then now they monopolize it. They own pretty much all of that. It doesn't mean other people couldn't do it. They just don't have, they have to then set up the resources to do it. It's going to take many years. It's sort of like building chips. You can build them anywhere, but you can't flip a light switch tomorrow and change which country you're building them in. So it takes time. And in our case here in America, it takes tons of red tape, which seems to be impossible to get through to do anything like that.
I mean, if you look, there's many other things. The molybdenum, you've got the cobalt, which I believe that was just talked about. The cobalt mining belt. All of these things are controlled by Chinese companies. It's pretty bad. And it's the like Dex said, it's the mining ability and the companies that do it. We could do this. Why we have left a gaping hole, I don't know. It's just absolutely nuts. And then half of Taiwan's aircraft isn't ready for war, and its Air Force doesn't have a coordinated radio network to stave off a Chinese invasion, according to this Pentagon leak. So, well, and by the way, if this is something that we know, that's probably something that China would know, if this isn't some sort of fake and ganned part of the leak, right? But the radio network, that's kind of concerning, especially since their hardline stuff just got cut. Dex, like their hardline communications just got cut between two of the islands, and they say that the rest of the island, all of the hardline wires are actually at risk because they're not protected. So if they don't have radio communications, that would be the first thing. That would be kind of the first step to losing before they even start.
Exactly.
Let's see here. Let me switch you over, Dex. Sorry about that. There you go.
Okay, exactly. So this is, a couple points here. One, with a leaked document like this, we don't know what's true and what's not. We don't know if this is one of the forged documents or if there was anything about this that might not be absolute truth. Now, it was seen by a mainstream source, and they didn't validate it, but they at least verified that they saw it. But we have to sort of take that with some grain of salt here. But if it is true, and this is really the words coming out of our Pentagon, meaning it was, in a top secret document, and it was their assessment of what's going on in Taiwan, that's pretty scary to think that, the fact that they've, half of their aircraft aren't ready. It's going to take them way too long to actually put them under cover. In other words, they probably don't have a lot of hardened hangars, I guess, maybe the term for it, hardened aircraft shelters, where they can protect them. Although I think you would probably rather get them in the air, but I don't know. I'm not a pilot, and I never commanded an Air Force, so I'm sure they know what the strategies are. But the point being is our Pentagon is saying, hey, they didn't even have coordination on a radio network, right? So they don't have a lot of the technology and the tactics that need to be put in place for them to be successful. So this is their assessment, and this wasn't an assessment that they were trying to make public. This was an internal assessment. This was probably being used for whatever planning they're doing to say, hey, if we got to help them, these are the problems they have, and we've got to be able to help them overcome those problems, or we're going to go over there and try to protect them. We've got to realize that these are these major weaknesses they have. So again, if this is true, it's kind of a big deal. It's very much a big deal.
Well, and it would make it a whole lot easier for them to take the island. So now that if this is truly a leak and it's public, and if China didn't have it now they know. So there's a lot of reasons adding up why they would take Taiwan sooner than later, and I think it kind of revolves around what is happening with Russia as well. I think that, like I've said before, if you look at, if they were to fight a war with the U.S., and it looks like this might be one, if not at least with Japan, then it would also happen then at the same time as Russia and UK are, and there's a full-on conflict in Europe. So who knows, though? Maybe they'll focus only on China and let Russia do whatever they're doing. But I highly doubt it. And China launches a weather satellite. Flights avoid no-fly zone to the north of Taiwan. We'll go over that in just a second. Just want to remind you guys, if you do want to protect your vehicles, your trucks, your generators, your house, and even your ATVs and smaller vehicles from an EMP or even a CME, a coronal mass ejection, or an electromagnetic pulse, you can put an EMP shield on it, wire it into your car in less than 10 minutes, and it will ground the signal of all three phases of an EMP in 500 trillionths of a second before it's able to fry your device. Now, what this does is it allows you to travel to where you need to get to bug out, or to get home so you can bug in. Either way, if you want to keep something running, then you'll want an EMP shield on it. This is the same company that is outfitting agencies like DHS, DOD, and the DEMSO team. So if you want to get the same protection, I would make sure to try to get that on at least the vehicles that need it. marfooglenews.com/EMP. You can do it yourself. It's very, very easy. As far as the home version, you do need an electrician to do that. That is worth noting because it is something that I believe you have to do by code or something. But once you do put this in your home, it will protect everything within 250 linear feet that is plugged into the wall. That's huge because obviously it would protect every device plugged in. So that's a big deal. Go to marfooglenews.com/EMP to get $50 off per device, and you'll be helping our independent channel at the same time. We don't have a multi-channel network. We are on our own. So if something happens, if we're knocked off, any of this happens, we're on our own to defend ourselves. So thank you, Foogle fam. Thank you guys for being with me since the beginning, and I appreciate it. marfooglenews.com/EMP. And then China launches weather satellite. Flights avoid the no-fly zone to north of Taiwan. China launched weather satellites on Sunday as civilian flights altered their routes to avoid a Chinese-imposed no-fly zone to the north of Taiwan, which Beijing put in place because of the possibility of flying rocket debris. Taiwan's transport ministry said that Beijing had initially notified Taipei it would impose a no-fly zone from Sunday to Tuesday, but later said that the period had been reduced to 27 minutes on Sunday morning after Taiwan protested. The no-fly announcement rattled regional nerves as it followed shortly after China staged new war games around Taiwan, which Beijing views as sovereign Chinese territory. The China Aerospace Science and Technology Corporation, China's main contractor for its space program, said that the weather satellite, the Fengyun 3G, had successfully launched from the northwestern province of Gansu at 9:36 a.m. The satellite then entered its set orbit, the contractor said, describing the launch as a complete success. Okay, so one thing I wonder, they have already scanned places like Hawaii. Dex, I didn't think about this before, but do you think that this thing that was going on in the sky for 27 minutes, do you think this might have been scanning Taiwan for something that they'll use the same thing that the same reason they were scanning Hawaii and scanning Guam?
It's quite possible. The big question I have is, what did they really launch? It's easy for them to tell us it's a satellite for weather, but we all know that the space group there, most of the large companies or any of the manufacturing there, it's all controlled by the government. So this could be any number of things, and this could be a cover for what that is. The other question I worry about is, did they use one of those rockets they just don't know how to land? And are we going to be reporting in about, I think it's about 3 weeks, maybe 5 to 6 weeks, all of a sudden that this, rocket body is going to be coming back down because they don't know how to control it. So those are the two things that worry me. What's really up there? What did they launch? Is it some new tech, kind of like we saw scanning Hawaii, or some other capability that we're unaware of? And what's going to happen to the rocket?
I don't know. Something's up. The 3 previous rocket that came uncontrolled down to Earth, they had no idea where it was going to land, or at least that's the impression we got. Civilians even tracked these rockets all the way around the world several times, and everybody made a big deal. All 3 of those rockets that were uncontrolled, that everybody questioned, like, why can't they control the descent of these things? Those were the biggest rockets that they've ever launched, and those were housing all 3 parts of the Chinese space station, which from inception and like letting the general public know about them to it's finished was a very short time. It felt like a year and a half. Time flew by. I was like, whoa, what is going on here? Mind you, from the first time that the public found out that they were going to step out of the ISS to now where they have their own space station. They have said that thing is a weapon of some sort. They've said that it's going to be absolutely crucial to all military applications, and that the thing is a defensive platform. So something is going up there. I wonder if this one, maybe this was something they flew up there. I don't know. They also announced that they're going to do a moon base. They're literally starting a moon base, and if they haven't already started it, or at least that's what they say, right? I feel like they're doing something big is going on above us, and we probably will not know until it hits us. And then U.S. sails warship through Taiwan Strait after China's drills. As you guys know, they did these massive drills, and they said they were pretty much shutting down the strait, basically they were trying to ban ships from entering. Well, the United States Navy has sailed a warship through the Taiwan Strait in its first known transit since China carried out the encirclement exercise around self-ruled Taiwan. The U.S. 7th Fleet said that the transit, and the same thing. They did they put it in here? They always put it in. They always say that it's a Freedom of Navigation Act thing, blah, 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 and we're traveling waters. But basically they said that it was routine. The cruisers transited through the corridor of the strait that was beyond the territorial sea of any coastal state. It says last week China concluded large-scale air and sea drills in the strait in retaliation for Taiwan's President Tsai Ing-wen meeting with U.S. House Speaker Kevin McCarthy on April 5th in California. China said Wednesday that the exercises simulating an encirclement of Taiwan were intended as a serious warning to pro-independence politicians on the self-governing island and their foreign supporters. China protested the transit Monday, saying that the U.S. transit was a public hype and that the Eastern Theater Command was ready at any time to resolutely safeguard the country's sovereignty, safety, and regional peace and stability. One thing I think of is China is not North Korea. Like, North Korea says stuff like this, nobody bats an eye. But China, at some point, they could make some sort of mistake. China really doesn't do all the crazy stuff that even, like, Russia does. They don't buzz people. They don't do crazy stuff, or at least our media doesn't portray it like that. It seems like they have changed their ways in the last 15 years. They are no longer scared by us sending ships up there, or at least they don't act the same way they did back in the days of like Bill Clinton. When we sent a whole fleet up there, they just backed off of whatever they were pushing. Now they don't. We did the same thing we did during Bill Clinton's day after this whole Taiwan thing started, and they didn't even bat an eye because now they have a larger navy than we do. In that short amount of time, they have flipped things around. So it's really crazy. We, of course, have more carriers than they do. We have more specialized stuff. But it is scary. I think that China is going for a quantity over quality type thing. But they also have the lead in certain technologies, which may help their bigger navy beat our better one. So it's kind of freaky to think about. All right, and then Andrew Golden says, Robot Dog brought to you by the Pfizer. And then Ray the Way, we in the Air Force know that we don't have enough to fight China. We have a lot, but lots are being decommissioned, so those numbers decrease by a big margin. Ray the Way, interesting. Yeah, I wonder how many are being decommissioned. I know that they've done several big decommissioning sections of whole things. I wonder how many out of all of those planes are older planes. It makes you think. Thank your mods. Wanted to take a second and thank the mods for keeping the chat peaceful and holding it down there. Make sure to go check them out. You can go check them out at marfooglenews.com/friends. You can find all of the mods' channels, their link trees, their videos, of course, their art, all down there. Wages World, make sure to go check him out. Trinity, Ilea, RGL, Rip Curl Readiness, Lisa R. Hall, Jammer, Gem, CJ Blaze, Chance Paladin, and Bones. Of course, down at the very bottom, there's all of the friendly channels that we work with, so make sure to go check them out as well. All right. And let's see here. Leaked Pentagon docs show the shot-down Chinese spy balloon may have had a feature known as synthetic aperture radar, which can see through certain materials. I think I made an incorrect statement. Foogle fam pointed out, and I had a discussion with Dex before, so I think I need to correct. I don't know if this stuff can see underground, but I'm not exactly sure. I said that it may be looking for like dumbs or something underground, but what it can do is most likely look underneath cover. So if there's planes or jets or some other things, that it may be able to see those. So Dex, from what you're saying is that you could probably see planes and jets that are in hangars, and even top secret stuff. They could possibly see outlines and things like that of it with this kind of system.
Yeah, I think they get more than an outline. I think they can make a based on this tech, they should be able to make a 3D rendering of it. So they should be able to get a decent understanding of what shape, size, dimensions of an aircraft, which would be really would be really useful if you're trying to understand which aircraft are stored where. If you're trying to look through a building, look into these hangars, if we've tarped or covered secret things with tents, which we've done before. We've seen those tents at and other covers that are laying over things at whether it be at JPL where they're actually just doing R&D versus say Area 51 where they're actually doing testing of craft that we probably won't see for many years. So if they're looking for that, either looking at inventory type reconnaissance or trying to discover craft shapes and or other things, maybe munitions and other stuff that they might not be able to know what's happening in a particular building or under a particular cover. I think being able to get that 3-dimensional rendering of that to a certain depth is what that technology is capable of.
And here's an image that I believe somewhat explains it here. It essentially puts together multiple layers and then compiles those layers into the 2D images into 3D images of what is there. And they aptly kind of use a thing here showing a plane, right? So very well, it could be used something like that. But basically, it uses multiple images to create a very high resolution image of an object. So, yeah. With the Chinese spy station, with all of this, if these are hypothetically true, it seems like they are setting up to do something here. It seems like they're checking us all out, and they are doing some serious spying. But who knows? It could all be BS, right? We don't exactly know yet. But this is the thing. We can't control what happens, but we can control how we respond to what happens. You can't stress about what you can't control. You can worry about what you can. So the synthetic aperture and this flying over all of our bases, it kind of makes sense. And they may be trying to scan things that we may have hidden. They don't want to go into a fight blind. To me, I think that they're getting ready for a fight. So, again, if you want to go over and see more of my opinion on that, go over to the Marfoogle News short, and you can share that out with friends and family if you can over on Marfoogle News, our sister channel. And then NATO no longer allows temporary occupation of its territory in event of Russian attack. So, Dex, what do they mean by temporary occupation?
So right now, or before now, if there was the potential of an attack on a NATO country, the expectation was the country should hold the line until NATO showed up. If we had put people there, it would be on a very temporary basis. Sometimes they would be there, sometimes they wouldn't. And by what they're basically saying is they're going to do away with that, given the heightened state of affairs, to where they're not going to expect the countries to temporarily hold the line. They're going to basically deploy across the lines so that they can harden the lines and be ready full time. It's no longer temporary. It's going to be more permanent.
So what they have basically just announced is that instead of for an example, if something happens in Finland, Finland's army would then hold the lines until we get there. Correct?
Yeah, that's my understanding of how the intention of it was.
But instead, they're saying this to the public and probably to explain why 300,000 plus and possibly more are about to deploy on a more permanent basis to Europe and to all of these NATO countries. So in the near future, I predict there's going to be a huge deployment to Finland, but they're going to say it's because of this, right? Well, instead of holding the lines, we're just going to permanently deploy these. And they're saying it is because of the invasion of UKR. What's crazy is one Fantastic Freddy can turn this into they're defending every inch, to all of a sudden troops going into Russia and advancing to stop the greater war, or to stop the, whatever horrible thing is going to happen from happening. I don't know. This seems like a bigger deal than what people are going to make it. Go ahead, Dex.
And I think I may have misspoke or maybe used the wrong term when I said hold the line. I think there was also an expectation that a NATO country might lose the line, and the idea that NATO would take care of things by retaliating, and as opposed to, and what they're calling it, the quote unquote deterrence by denial, means they're denying the occupation. In other words, they're going to be at the front lines ready to hold it off, as opposed to a country that may, say Lithuania, they come across the border. Well, of course, they're going to end up taking a chunk, putting in a stronghold, and then starting their battle, right? That's, just exactly what happened in UKR, right? The first day, they rolled in pretty deep quickly, and then UKR had to battle it back. And so that's what they're trying to say is, hey, we're no longer going to allow that type. That's sort of the modus operandi that they had before this event. And the last time we were in this role was in the cold conflict way back then. We actually were very, beefed up, and we did not allow, we had what they called deterrence by denial, where we held the line strong. So that it's the same thing. I just didn't want anybody to think that I was saying that the country was going to actually hold the line, because a lot of those countries are small and they probably couldn't hold a line against somebody like Russia.
No, and deterrence by denial means, on the contrary, the permanent location of Allied troops near the border with the Russian Federation, more integration of American and Allied war plans, more military spending, money, and more detailed requirements for allies to have specific kinds of forces and equipment to fight, if necessary, in pre-assigned places. Again, just to reiterate that one part, more integration of American and Allied war plans. So, get ready, folks. They're going to load up all of the borders of Russia with a ton more troops. And I bet you most people won't bat an eye. And then RAF and German Air Force intercept Russian fighter jet and a spy plane. So they essentially chased them off. It said that RAF fighter jets have intercepted 3 Russian fighter jets and a spy plane flying close to NATO airspace. Working with the German Air Force, the Typhoon jets conducted the joint mission on Monday as part of Operation Azoties. And if chat, I know Dex, you have access to the oogs, but chat, if you guys want to go dig on what Azoties could possibly, where the roots of that word is. Azoties, which operates to protect the eastern flank of NATO's border. The jets were scrambled after several Russian aircraft were found flying over the Gulf of Finland and the Baltic Sea. RAF sources confirmed that one of the aircrafts was identified to be a Russian Air Force IL-20 Kut-A intelligence aircraft transiting from mainland Russia to the Kaliningrad enclave. It was met by 2 Russian Su-27 Flanker B fighter jets based in Kaliningrad, which escorted the Kut-A south through the northwest area of Estonian Flight Information Region. The RAF and German Typhoons escorted the Kut-A and Flanker Bs through the Estonian Flight Information Region before handing over the Saab Gripen fighters of the Swedish Air Force. So once they saw them, they basically escorted them and got to where they were going. Nothing too strange here, but every kind of interaction that they have now is now recorded and heavily publicized. So, and then azotize, to nitrogenize. Really? To nitrogenize, to change to an azo compound. Azotize, transitive verb, to impregnate with azote or nitrogen. Dex, go ahead. What do you think that means?
So I think it means by combining the German and the RAF together, one of them is, what is that code or the operation Azotize? That's my guess. I don't know.
Huh.
'Cause it sounds like, the definition, as everyone's saying in chat, is to put nitrogen into something or to nitrate something. So it's inserting something. So I'm assuming it's inserting these two together.
Well, and nitro usually means like, well, and if you use nitro in a car, it's like, woo, you know what I mean? Like, it's to
Correct.
really propel it, So the azotize, they're probably some of the nerdier guys in the military. Like, let's azotize it, like, we're really rocking now. Like we said, there's got to be multiple of these, departments around the world that come up with these code words and code names and things, unless they have like some sort of top secret app made by Google that makes code word names as evil as possible. Before we talk about the massive explosions that rocked Russia, leaving thousands without power, a quick reminder, if you don't want to be without power, I would highly recommend checking out Energy. The Flex Tactical is on pre-order right now. That is the newest Flex Tactical as far as the newest Flex 1500, but only way, way, way crazier, designed by the Air Force Research Laboratory solar generator. That one is now for pre-order right now. The Kodiak, the X2, is shipping out. This is an all built-in one. Basically, if you get this and some panels, you have one cord that you plug in from the panels, and you have power generating. Not only that, it stores then in the battery cells, and you can take it with you. You can hold it for later. It is an amazing system. Solar is great because it is stealth. It is almost near silent. You can't hear it from 3 blocks away. You don't need $5 a gallon gas because there is none. And it's unlimited power. As long as the sun comes up the next day, even in overcast days or crappy days, you can still get power. So this is really great. The X2, do we still have the stacking sale, Dex? Is that still going, or are they out? I knew that the stacking sale went and basically until they sold them all. So if they still do have units, they should still have the stacking sale, but either way, you'll get a special discount with our code, marfooglenews.com/energy. And then, of course, if you want to wait just a little bit longer, the Energy Flex 1500 is definitely one of the best out there. This is a modular system. It works like Legos. You can expand it up to 96 batteries, and you can actually mod the overall use of it. You can turn the base Flex into a unit that actually takes triple the input. You can change it into a UPS or uninterrupted power supply that you can always have things plugged into, and when the power goes out, it will automatically flip over to that. That's what the new Flex UPS rapid charger, which also doubles as a fast charger. If you could think about it kind of like how you charge your phone, plug it into the wall. If you use the slow charger, it takes 10 minutes, or 2 hours. If you use the fast charger, it will take 10 minutes. This thing can charge in full, I believe, in an hour and 15 minutes, which is huge, or less. So again, make sure to go check that out. It is almost out. And make sure to use the code Marfoogle on that one, INERGY, marfooglenews.com/energy, and the code Marfoogle. Dex, go ahead.
Yeah, both the LT and the X2 are still on sale.
So the X2 is the bigger one.
Once they're done for a while.
This is the X2. This is the big one. And then the LT is the small one, about that big. That one is for like cell phones. I ran a TV and an Xbox for 5.5 hours off of the little LT. So that's the tiny one. So that one's also a really great deal as well. And you can plug into solar panels. All right. And great for devices and laptops and all sorts of other little stuff. Lamp. I mean, you could plug a lamp in forever on one of those. All right. And massive explosions rock Russia, leaving thousands without power in UKR drone attack on power stations. It almost seems like it's deja vu, only in reverse. So now they are attacking Russia. This is, this is a big deal. Dex, go ahead.
Correct. Like we've talked about this potential counteroffensive. We've also talked about in the past how they've reached across that border a couple of times with a couple of different instances, and they were expecting to work towards this big push, this counteroffensive push, in the March-April timeframe as they got more gear and equipment from their NATO partners or the U.S. Thanks to us. So this could be one of the first signs that they're actually making those changes in their strategy, which is reaching across that border. This is in Belgrade, Belgorod, but they actually went after. It was a coordinated, looks like a targeted strike on their crucial substations in a particular suburb. Not sure exactly what was used, other than there were these explosions that happened, and there were obviously power outages, and emergency services were on site, and there was fires. So obviously something's happening. It could also be localized in the sense that we've also seen them go across the border with special operations or special operators doing things like that as well. So it could be from the air, it could be even from the ground.
Yeah, so, I mean, this has started. If you were ever worried about this going back into Russia, escalating something bigger, then this just happened. And they say that close to 500,000 people are without power because they're actually attacking power plants, or power facilities, and infrastructure inside of Russia. Big picture of what's going on with China, Taiwan, with NK and South K, even with India, with some of their adversaries right now. This is becoming quite a drama-filled show called The World. Let's see, and then Dex, I'll have you cover the Wagner Group leader says UKR counteroffensive would likely succeed as Russia is in crisis. It's just so late. I mean, it's so crazy that they argue back and forth. They're supposed to be on the same side. This is the part it's like it is happening. It's just hard to believe that they're so kind of they're just so dumb, really. I don't know what to say about this. The Wagner Group in general, just how they've been able to. I think it's got to be part of the story. It's got to be part of the Ganda. I don't think they would allow it if they made them look bad, unless it was on purpose, like Sun Tzu style, like appear weak when you're strong or strong when you're weak.
I often wonder if they can even control them. We've seen all the criticism and the back and forth between them. But look, I don't think he actually came out to say what this headline is saying. He published like this 100, I don't know, it was 100 pages. It was a long essay. It was a deep essay that he published. I don't know how long it was. Probably not 100 pages, but it was pretty long. He published it on Friday, and of course, it's written in from his point of view, the way he speaks, and it's also in Russian, so it has to be translated. And even some people were suggesting, hey, be careful they may be miscontextualizing the information as it's being translated. But what they picked up on is a specific quote in there that was along the lines of, hey, yeah, we're so weak right now, or things haven't been going so well right now. If they did do a counteroffensive, they will likely succeed. But the gist of what he was trying to say wasn't negative. It was actually more like, even if Russia gets to the bottom, as going on this quote again, they will push off from there. They will, float back up like a huge sea monster and demolish everything in its path, including the plans of the United States, end quote, right? So, when you go back to what he's saying, he's like, yeah, they may push in on this offensive, but we're really going to kick their butt, after the fact, if that's what it takes. And, he went on to, tell people to, I guess, rah in favor of Vlad and in favor of Russia. So it's easy for the West to take the one line out of there and sort of let's put this in the headline and say, oh, he says they would succeed. UKR will succeed because we're weak. And yes, he technically said that in there. But there was more to the entire
It's kind of like
context.
sarcasm. The sarcasm is being missed, but it's not sarcasm. It's more like he said, yeah, since we're having problems right there, they would take that area, but then we would steamroll right over them anyways. That kind of thing.
Yeah, and then all they want to latch onto is, oh, well, he said they could take it if they have an offensive. So, again, all grain of salt. This falls right in line with Ganda. It's coming from his personal, paper that he wanted to publish, lengthy essay that he put out on Friday, and then everybody tried to interpret what they could get from it. I don't know why he does that. I don't think that that's official or anything that,
Yeah, and why is he writing
people who are in communications for the DOD over there, their military, are saying, yeah, publish that stuff for us. He's kind of a loose cannon.
Well, that's what we think, and if that's what we're being told, it may be on purpose. That's all I'm saying. This is war, and I'd love the Fugel fam's help on this. The thing is there's a lot of backdoor deals going on. There's lots of money making things going on. I don't know if this has anything to do with it, but it is a big deal for Finland, which is now part of NATO. Europe's most powerful nuclear reactor kicks off in Finland. Finland's much delayed and costly new nuclear reactor, Europe's most powerful by production capacity, has completed a test phase lasting over a year and started regular output, boosting the Nordic country's electricity self-sufficiency significantly. The Olkiluoto 3 reactor, which has a 1,600 megawatt capacity, was connected into a Finnish national power grid in March of 2022 and kicked off regular production on Sunday. Operator Teo Ludon Voima of TVO tweeted that Olkiluoto 3 is now ready after a delay of 14 years from original plan. I don't know where that came from. Why I don't know why I talked like that. That was weird. I'll read that again. Olkiluoto 3 is now ready after a delay. Olkiluoto 3 is now ready after a delay of 14 years from the original plan. Okay, I think you guys got it. It will help Finland to achieve its carbon neutrality targets and increase energy security at a time when European countries have cut oil, gas, and other power supplies from Russia, Finland's neighbor. The production of Olkiluoto 3 stabilizes the price of electricity and plays an important role in the Finnish green transition, said TVO president and CEO Jarmo Tenhua in the statement. The company added that the electricity production volume of Europe's largest nuclear power plant unit is a significant addition to clean domestic production. So, now they have nuclear power, and a lot of it. Which before the Zaporizhia thing, wasn't the Zaporizhia connected to these same places? Are they kind of like letting the Zaporizhia go? Or was it connected at all? I guess it makes them more self-reliant and more powerful in a way. I'm not Swedish. Sasha Lenoris is Swedish. Whoops. And then Dex, I almost lost you there. Sorry about that. I think I muted.
No comment on the on the impersonation there.
Well, you don't. What do you mean? I didn't do an impersonation. I couldn't read it right. It was the pronunciation, I think, was wrong.
Gotcha.
I didn't.
That wasn't your Finnish accent.
No. That was just reading. I was reading very normal, actually. I don't know why people make fun of my reading. That's okay, though. Let bygones be bygones. All right.
We'll have to clip that and make some, what is it, ASMR or whatever that's called?
Oh, I think that would be the opposite. I think that would be T.O. Archer. Archer. I think that would be. Kimbria, thank you. Crack pipe hunter. Does that mean... That means two different things at the same time. You're actually hunting the elusive crack pipe. Let's hear. Beer Juice, thank you. Yobi, thank you. Kimbria, thank you. Thank your mods for keeping the chat held down. Dex, let's go over to the web only. Let's quickly go over some of the stuff that's going on down there.
Absolutely. So lots happening. If you're not familiar with it, we put together a lot more content than what we just covered. So head over to marfooglenews.com, click on the thumbnail for the show, or even easier, open up the description down below, click on that show notes link. It'll take you to this webpage that's on the screen right here. And as you scroll down, you'll go past all of the content we just talked about. So if you're looking for the sources, they're there. Hit this overflow section, and now you'll find the rest of the story. So this is the rest of the news that we thought was relevant and important. Some of it goes hand in hand with what we've covered. Some of it is other topics we don't typically cover just because it causes too much consternation in chat and people like to argue and fight over it. So lots happening. Look, the Fox News trial, that's underway. So there's updates on that. I think they're trying to settle it. I don't know if that'll happen. That got kicked off. So lots of things happening with crime. So if you haven't seen what was going on in Chicago, you haven't seen what happened in California and other locations, that's there. Get caught up on it. There's some an interesting speaking of Ganda, there was a Gandist that was unmasked. It turned out to be a New Jersey tropical fish seller it was a pro Vlad Gandist. So if you want to see that, that's there. We've got additional updates on what's happened with the UKR and the European work, and also with the recent drill that went on in the Pacific, that's now over with. We covered it when it was happening. We covered it when it started. And now, of course, it's being hailed as, a success, but that's there. Of course, I've got the link to that article about the CEI you were talking about earlier with BlackRock. So if you want to know about why some of these companies are doing the things that they're doing and who's sort of forcing them to do it, at least from an investment point of view, that's really insightful. Go take a look at that. That's there. We do have a lot of other coverage, some strange things like taking dead birds and using them to create drones so they can study how flight works. Some weird stuff happening. So all of that and a whole lot more. I didn't even give it all to you. It's right there on the website, marfooglenews.com. Click on the thumbnail for the show or open up that show notes link. It's down in the description. Easy to get to.
And as far as there's a ton of other shows that you can go back to and go find all sorts of great news. You can go up to the upper right-hand corner and use that search feature. Let's see here. Somebody actually, and I don't know if you guys are still talking about it. A certain person said stuff about fearmongers this, fearmongers that. I'd say the general way to respond to that is I would say let them know kind of what we go by through. I think that most people that have watched this show for 4 or 5 years know that this isn't about fear-mongering. Fear-mongering in itself, I think, is a way. First of all, it's a way to kind of push away all of the problems of it's like not accepting what is really happening around us. And I think that this whole thing, just questioning the narrative in general, has been demonized. It's like you can't talk about it. And they have come up with a way, any way that you go against the narrative, they have found a label or something to attack it. And if you're labeled, nobody wants to be labeled, so they won't say the things that gets you labels. If you were talking about World War III, then you're a fearmonger. If you're this, you're that. If you talk about the thing, you're a bigot. If you talk about this, you're a racist. These are all labels that they have given and they've tried to push so people won't talk about things. Nobody's afraid here. These are preppers around you. These are the least afraid people you will ever see. If you're new here and you don't understand what we're doing, then that's on you. It's a the thing is nobody is pushing this into your home. You're coming here to be afraid. That's like putting on a scary movie and go, you guys are scary movies. You guys are horrible. You do horror films, which you inserted into your VHS, into your VCR, or into your DVD player. We use VCRs. That's how much of a prepper we are. We don't have DVD players. They might be listening to us. Just kidding. They are. VHS, absolutely no listening devices, so that's why we use it here at Marfoogle News. We're not crazy, though. Be kind, rewind. But at the same time, you're coming here to watch the scary movie. So you are an adult, and if you're not an adult, then maybe this would be considered fear-mongering. I don't know. But that's a good way, and yeah, I wouldn't ban anybody that says, fearmonger. I at least try to explain it a few times. If you just want to say that over and over again, then that turns into the spam rule. And you don't have to spam and make everybody read that 50 times. Everybody is enjoying themselves. If they're not, they're probably not enjoying themselves, which is like a whole nother sadist kind of masochist thing that people do. Watch channels they don't like. It's like my grandpa. He hated, what's his name? What's his face that was on the radio for years? Man, Dex, you know
Rush Limbaugh.
Rush Limbaugh. He would sit there every single day. He never missed a single Rush Limbaugh show, and he would scream and yell. And I just remember yelling at the radio. And I remember thinking, like, if you don't like him, why do you listen to him every day? He would, you idiot, you are a complete dumbass, blah, blah, blah. But it was something where the people that you don't agree with, at least you're being exposed to a thought that's not yours. Now we're all used to being in echo chambers. So if somebody disagrees with us, we block them or we just don't listen, which is how people devolve. It's how humanity devolves, and it's being done on purpose. So thank you guys. Make sure to check out the website. Make sure to check out all of the mods. They do great work over on their own channels. And make sure to check out all of our friends and friendly channels. Have a good night, guys. Thank you so much for sticking with us. Love you. Be safe. Be prepared. And Marf out. LOD Will, thank you for that last minute super. Thank you for the super sticker. Andrew Golden and Fairies of Venus. It looks like you are the top supporter for tonight. So thank you. It is now time for the shoutro. It's not an outro. It's not a shout out. It's a shoutro. Or should I say, it's a shoutro.
Oh Lord, please forgive me. Oh Lord, please save us, please. Oh
All right, let's make a fresh one for Fairies of Venus.
prestige I roll. No, I'm a real on that. Look back now when I take this girl wild. Whoa, now, gotta take that walk off of a very short dive. Hey, I with a Susan Bear. I told me here in the 7 I wear. Everybody knows who they're with. Everybody knows it's got both. Gonna do it like that. Hey, gonna do it one way. What it do? I bet. Everybody go. I think I with a space camper. Everybody on their own damn bar. Everybody wanna do it that. Everybody knows now. Hey, I with a gal by store. Hey, with a big award. Hey, there's a big award. Paradise, yeah, back with a back now like. I do it like this and I do it like that. Shape when I girl and I won't like that. Everybody ready wanna go. Okay, with a back wrist side. Ding it on a ding it shaw back and I did ice bar. Hey, wow, Paris and a Paris something. 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 We don't really on a bag, on no bag with a Marvin foot there. I would have seen when easy. I had husky bar 40 years and we go awesome. Everybody knows gonna go home. Everybody got to go home. With a boy on now, don't gotta go home and say girl. Okay, hey, single ass shit, bring it on down. Paris and a Paris something. Paris and a Paris something. Paris and a Paris something. With a Paris something. Oh, now, with a about now, oh, now, with a L.A. Richards. The on a late burner. Hey, with a big burner. Hey, I with a won't know now. Everyone knows now. Hey, I with a Joe that you know. Oh, with a Bobby suit, right? Oh, Carlson, my trucker, and white. Everybody.